There's a specific kind of silence that follows public shame. Not the silence of reflection, the silence of judgment. It's cold, thick, and full of eyes. You feel it in your throat, your spine, your skin. It's not just attention, it's exposure. And in that moment, everything you are is vulnerable. But here's the twist no one expects. That moment, it's not your downfall, it's your opening. Because power isn't found in the avoidance of humiliation. It's found in how you respond to it. To most, humiliation is defeat, emotional collapse dressed as comedy. But to the Machiavellian mind, it's the perfect trap, not to fall into, to spring. This is the art of psychological warfare. And the most elite practitioners don't just survive public embarrassment, they own it, twist it, frame it so precisely that the audience doesn't walk away mocking them. They walk away uncertain and afraid. Why does humiliation sting so deeply? Because it challenges identity. It strips away the narrative you've built and replaces it with someone else's version right in front of your peers. In seconds, you're no longer the speaker, the professional, the leader. You're the joke, the failure, the weak one. But that rewrite only sticks if you accept their frame. The goal is not to defend your ego. The goal is to expose theirs. Someone mocks your intelligence, your appearance, your failure. You don't deny it. You don't fight it. You invert it with one cold, loaded line. It's interesting how badly you needed to say that. Or, that one's been living rent-free in your head, hasn't it? Notice what just happened. You didn't try to win the crowd with volume. You didn't lash out. You turned the spotlight back onto the attacker's need for control. You made them look like the one reaching, the one obsessing, and just like that, you reframed their insult as a confession. Machiavellian strategy is not about rebuttal. It's about redirection. Let them throw the punch, but instead of blocking, you shift the angle and let the force reveal them. The third principle, own your flaw. This is where most people fall apart. If the attack strikes something true, a failure, an insecurity, they panic. Try to cover it, hide it, deny it. Don't. If it's true, say it, but say it on your terms. Yeah, I failed, I learned. You still seem stuck on it. Now, who looks strong? You've made the shame irrelevant. You've de-weaponized it by dragging it into the light yourself. And nothing disarms a group faster than someone who owns their flaws with calm precision. Why? Because they stop being a target. They become a mirror. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. That power isn't about being flawless. It's about being unshakable. The world fears those who cannot be humiliated, not because they're perfect, but because they're immune to the game. And the real game, it's never about facts. It's about frame control. When you're attacked, you're not just managing your emotions, you're managing the audience's perception. And that's the fourth principle. Speak not to the attacker, but to the room. Because humiliation is theater. It requires a crowd. Your real battle isn't with the person who threw the jab. It's with the interpretation being written around you. So you weaponize presence, your posture, your tone, your restraint. If they mock you mid-conversation, don't explain yourself. Tilt your head, offer a faint smirk, and say, "Fascinating that this upset you so much. What you've just done is subtle, but devastating. You've forced the crowd to reconsider who's really out of control. You've suggested their attack says more about their need to feel big than your actual words or behavior. And most importantly, you've stayed calm. Because the Machiavellian doesn't shout. He doesn't scramble. He orchestrates. He doesn't deny the insult. He makes it look pitiful. That's the art. Now let's go one level deeper. You've disrupted the moment, reclaimed the frame, owned the flaw, redirected the spotlight. But that's only the surface. Because in the Machiavellian playbook, humiliation isn't just a social risk, it's a battlefield. And like all battles, the terrain matters. Here's where most people miscalculate. They focus only on the attacker. But the audience, that's the true arena. Your control over them determines your real power. So when you're excluded from a conversation, talked over, intentionally ignored, it's not random. It's a nonverbal power move designed to marginalize you. And the average response is exactly what they want. Desperation, re-entry, needy smiles. Don't give them that. Instead, disengage. Not emotionally, tactically. You don't storm off, you don't sulk. You relocate your gravity, turn to someone else, pick up your phone, shift the attention to a new orbit, yours. And here's the Machiavellian truth. Attention is the real currency. Stop spending it on people trying to steal your dignity, and you bankrupt their power. Now let's go surgical. Say someone delivers a cutting line they've clearly prepared. A cheap insult disguised as wit. They smirk. The room chuckles. But instead of reacting, you lean in slightly, just enough to signal curiosity, and say with a calm, flat tone, "That one sounded rehearsed. You've been holding on to it, huh?" That line cuts deeper than any insult. Why? Because it exposes their intent. You've turned their moment into a mirror. Not a punchline, a revelation. The audience begins to shift. The laughter fades. You didn't match their aggression. You dismantled it. This is how humiliation is reversed. Not with fire, but with frame control. Not by matching intensity, but by lowering yours so sharply it forces recalibration. You don't chase the room's approval. You let the room chase understanding. Now let's talk about escalation. When you reverse public humiliation effectively, don't expect peace. Expect evolution. The next attempt might be quieter, slippery, wrapped in praise. "Oh, I didn't expect you to get it right so quickly." Looks like a compliment, but it's bait. So how do you answer? Not defensively, not with sarcasm. You just look at them and say, "Strange." You say that like it surprises you. Now the compliment collapses. They're exposed for what it was, a dig disguised as praise. The crowd sees it, and they lose narrative control again, because that's what this is really about. Narrative control. Public humiliation is a power script, but if you refuse to play your part, the entire performance collapses. And sometimes, here's the darkest move of all, you let them keep talking. Don't interrupt. Don't defend. Just let them monologue. Because attackers often need to perform. They crave validation, attention, and if you give them just enough rope, they'll go too far, reveal too much, shift the tone from clever to desperate. That's when you strike. Once. No more than one line. Icy. Clean. You seem really committed to this performance. Then, nothing. The silence that follows is not emptiness. It's weight. And everyone in that room feels it. This isn't about witty comebacks. It's about emotional strategy. Every movement you make, every pause, every breath must carry intention. Because humiliation isn't a fact. It's a framing device. And if you refuse to be framed, they cannot control the outcome. Here's another principle. Never match their energy. That's their trap. If you mirror their sarcasm, their volume, their tension, you validate their game. So instead, your body must speak what your mouth never says. This is beneath me. You drop your energy. You slow your words. You let the silence stretch. Why? Because power doesn't sprint. It doesn't scramble. It sinks. Let's say you're telling a story in a group. You're in your rhythm, and someone interjects with, "Wow, someone thinks they're deep today." The goal? To reframe you as self-important, arrogant, attention-seeking. Most people defend, "I was just sharing," and boom, you've taken the bait. But here's the better move. Pause. Look at them, not with anger, with still curiosity. Then say, "Interesting how much that bothered you." That's all. You flipped it from, "Why are you being arrogant?" to, "Why are they so uncomfortable with insight?" The audience catches on. You've reversed the current. Because every insult is a story they want people to believe about you. Your job is not to argue. It's to interrupt the narrative. That's the fifth principle. Be unreadable. Because unreadable people can't be placed. and what can't be placed becomes feared. Here's where it gets truly Machiavellian. Most public humiliations aren't spontaneous. They're rehearsed. Muted versions were tested in private, and now they've brought it public for validation. Your attacker thinks they're clever, that they've identified your weak spot. Now, you show them no spot exists. They make a joke. Still trying to get it right, huh? Smirks, chuckles, eyes dart to you. You don't flinch. You don't deny. You just tilt your head and say, "You've been practicing that one." It's surgical. You haven't denied anything. You haven't insulted back. You've exposed the planning, the obsession, the neediness. The mood shifts. The attacker looks less like a joker, more like someone obsessed with bringing you down. And that is far less funny. Now let's talk long game. The Machiavellian knows one success won't stop the attacks. If anything, it invites more. Sneakier, smarter, more socially camouflaged. This is where most break. They get sloppy, defensive. But you prepare. Because once you show you're not emotionally reactive, they'll try subtler traps. Compliments that sting. Jokes disguised as advice. Silence that isolates. Anticipate all of it. And hold the same line. Don't react. Redirect. Power is about predictability. Not for them, for you. That every situation, no matter how humiliating, will be met with strategy, not emotion. And here's the final lesson. Sometimes, you say nothing, you just watch. Let them perform. Let them try to provoke. You make no effort to win, because the crowd, they're watching too. And eventually, the attacker will say too much, stretch too far, push beyond the tone of the room, and the silence they get in return, it won't be yours. It will be the crowd's. That's when, and only then, you say one sentence. You seem very invested in this moment. Nothing more. And now they're the ones explaining, defending, squirming. That's when you stand up, not physically, but socially. Because true dominance doesn't arrive when you humiliate someone back. It arrives when they humiliate themselves, and you don't even need to move. Here's the coldest truth of all. Humiliation only works on those desperate to protect their image. When you are no longer obsessed with being seen as flawless, you become untouchable. The Machiavellian isn't trying to be liked. He's trying to be respected through mystery, restraint, and control. So the next time someone tries to cut you down in public, don't try to fix your image. Destroy theirs, quietly, and walk away knowing this. The one who controls the meaning of the moment controls the memory of it. And the memory is where power lives. If you've made it this far, you're not just scrolling, you're searching for something deeper. Thanks for trusting me with your mind. If this spoke to you, like the video, hit subscribe and share it with someone who needs to reclaim their power. Until next time, stay sharp and think deeper.